Hello, everybody. Oh, look, bang on, literally a second before 11 o'clock. Timely. Perfection of time. Welcome, everybody, to day 3 of my 21-day series of sharing the truth. I feel it's just so important to live from the truth. And so today I'm sharing something that I think we're all, I don't like the word guilty, but we're all responsible, perhaps that's a better word for, talking negatively about things or other people or even ourselves. There is a kind of addiction to the negative. We see it all around us, in fact. We see it on the news every day. I know some people who watch the news every day, and it's almost like imbibing yourself with the negative, right? And I also hear people around me talking about others in a negative fashion. And I've often over the years sat with, I wonder how that affects our own energy. And I think it's important to become aware of this, become aware of how we manage our own energy and how we use it, and also, not least, how our energy affects others. So I think it's safe to say that we are all in some way or another addicted to the negative. And there is a reason why, and here is the truth of this. The truth behind this addiction to the negative is that the ego gets a bit of a kick out of it. It kind of likes it. Why? Because it gives the ego a temporary sense of empowerment. It gives the ego a sense of safety and security underlying that empowerment, and the ego seeks that. Our egos seek to make us safe and secure all the time. So talking negatively about others or attaching ourselves to a negative, strangely, although it sounds like a contradiction in terms, actually kind of makes us feel safer and more powerful. Let's say we're gossiping about another person, that kind of gives you a temporary sense of elevation, a sense of better than, yeah? And as we all know, really the truth behind it is that that's actually false. It's a false truth. It's a false sense of empowerment, yeah? And our addiction to the news as well gives us a false sense of safety in our own little cocoons. I'm not saying that we should be in denial of what's going on out there, and I think it's important to be informed. But I think it's important as well to have very strong and clear boundaries around what is positive about our lives and to really focus more on that than on the negative, yeah? So the ego has a sense of false empowerment around the negative. It makes it feel strong. But this is only temporary. The real strength, of course, is in our hearts. It's in the real truth about who we are. It's in mostly the positive of our lives and how we can think positively of others, how we can elevate ourselves by elevating others, right? By being perhaps more compassionate, more forgiving, yeah, instead of putting others down in order to elevate ourselves, right? So that's, I think, something important to sit with and accept about our behaviour. And I think we rob ourselves as well. When we attach to the negative, we rob ourselves of the truth, which is the possibility of actually rising and elevating from a place of heart-centeredness, rather than from a place of sort of temporary empowerment that the ego feels, right? So quite an important lesson here, an important truth, to just pay attention to where in your life are you attaching yourself to a negative. Because there is another danger that's hidden in all of this. When we keep talking and thinking about the negative, we're actually sending energy to it. And with that, it gathers momentum. And in a way, it becomes self-perpetuating. It's almost like you've probably heard before the self-fulfilling prophecies. In a way, it is a bit like that. We are, even though we're not fully aware of it, deeply the creators of our own experiences. So if we're creating negative experiences because we're attached to them, speaking about them a lot of the time, thinking about them all the time, thinking about doom and gloom and keeping ourselves stuck in this loop, we are actually responsible really for creating it again and again and again. Hence the patterns that we find ourselves repeating in life. So I'd like to invite you to do something different this time, right? So the first thing to do is to catch yourself when you find yourself either speaking negatively about a situation or a person, or thinking negatively, which is not so easy to catch yourself because a lot of the time those thoughts are subconscious, right? And we're not aware of them. So it's about just pausing a little bit and just sort of slowing down a bit and just observing your thoughts. By simple observation of your thoughts, they will dissolve. The thoughts that are in our subconscious, as soon as they become aware, it's almost like magic, they just go poof, they go up in smoke, quite literally. And if you want a little bit more information on that, Eckhart Tolle is the expert on that in his books on the power of now. So the invitation is initially to just become aware of your behavior, of what you are saying, and of your thoughts. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, you were hearing me coming, right? To cut those thoughts. Observe them, like I've just said, and if you were speaking, just bite your tongue. Just go, you know what, actually, I'm not going to say that about that person, or worst of all, about yourself, yeah? It's been a long, long time that I haven't put myself down. I stopped talking negatively about myself years and years and years ago, because why would I, right? Why would I? In a way that's going against self-love. Why would I treat myself so harshly, right? We can be our own worst enemies. So bring attention to that as well, okay? And so let me just have a quick look at my notes. So the invitation really is to catch yourself and to pay attention. And yes, the next thing is a little bit trickier to do, but it's the important piece of the equation. So once you've noticed your thoughts, your negative thoughts, once you've managed to just bite your tongue or stop saying those things to yourself or about others that are negative, the next thing is, you're going to have to do this because that's what's going to happen, is when you stop sending it out there, yeah, you're going to have to feel the pain around it, yeah. But I promise you now that feeling the pain of what you're feeling is negative in your life won't kill you. On the contrary, it will help it move gently through you, and you can just breathe into it, own it as yours, and just let it move through you. Breathe in and relax into that emotion, yeah? And what will come from that is clarity. Once you've moved through the pain, you will have clarity of how to respond to this negative situation if you need to in the first place. Sometimes you don't need to because the feeling is gone, yeah? And if you do need to respond to it, you'll have more clarity and you'll be more centered and better placed to do it. Rather than behaving from our pain, it's better to behave from a centered, heart-centered place, right? Because the chances of success are much greater, okay? So the steps are, first of all, to become aware of your negative thinking, where you are attached to the negative. Become aware of where you are perpetuating that, where you are speaking negatively of others or things, or really latching onto the negative, yeah? The ego uses this as a trick to distract ourselves from actually feeling the pain. Our egos don't want us to feel the pain because they're busy trying to protect us. But what it doesn't know, what the ego doesn't know, is that feeling our pain is okay. Actually, it's better. Because if we don't allow ourselves to feel it, it's just going to get more and more acute, right? So those are the steps. So once you've felt your pain, then you can behave in a different way. You can respond to it in a different way if you need to respond to it at all. So, yes, let me have a quick look at my notes. So yes, it can be a trap to perpetuate the negative, does in fact trap us. It traps us in denser energies. The positive has a much higher frequency. Of course, we feel better, right, when we're thinking positively and when we're speaking positively about life or other people. So try and just pay attention to that and manage your energy, guide your energy gently without beating yourself up, because that's also a negative behavior, right? Just guide your energy gently back to the heart, really. The heart is where we are most positive. So an affirmation that you can say to yourself in order to help yourself in this process of detaching from the negative and instead living from a place of positivity is something along these lines. And you can make up your own. I'm just making suggestions here, but the important thing about affirmations is that it really feels resonant with you and your heart and your truth. And it could be something along the lines of, I am now ready to let go of the negative and own my own pain and allow myself to heal from my own pain and then respond from the heart. That's a bit of a long affirmation. You can shorten it perhaps in whichever way you like. I am ready to detach from the negative and open up to the positive. Anything like that would work, yeah? So today's invitation is to move away from a false truth, which is our identification with the negative, which gives us a little kick. It gives us a sense of empowerment, but it's a false truth. It's a false empowerment, yeah? And actually to move into the heart, to move into real positivity and start managing our thoughts, start managing our words and owning our emotions behind them. And go, you know what, actually, yeah, that really does hurt, but you know what? I can sit with that pain. I can breathe into it and I can let it go. And then I can choose with greater clarity how to behave in a more positive way, how to respond in a more positive way. Sending you love and wishing you a really positive day ahead, a very mindful day ahead, an aware day ahead. Lots of love. See you tomorrow at the same time. Bye for now.